All right, so welcome to the first episode of Basketball Poetry's new YouTube channel. I don't know what works on this platform. I don't know how to use it. I don't watch any basketball YouTubes really, so this is me giving it an initial stab. I was against this idea for a long time, but I've had enough people be like, hey man, you gotta get on YouTube. And then someone showed me a funky diabetic, and he literally just talks over a still image. So shout out to you, funky diabetic, because I am also diabetic. So strong presence for diabetics in the basketball media right now. Anyway, on to the real meat of it. The Kings' offense is good. That's bad. The Kings were riding high after last season, which culminated in the team's first playoff berth in a high school junior's lifetime. They had a historically great offense that flowed through Domantas Sabonis' high post playmaking, a brilliant one-on-one scorer in De'Aaron Fox, a bevy of willing and capable shooters, and a clever offensive system that skipped doses of pick and roll for dribble handoffs, cuts, and off-ball movement. They brought back the same core this offseason and added a few more complementary pieces. So even acknowledging their injury luck in a down Western Conference last year, it felt reasonable to expect more of the same from the Kings this season. And through 22 games, they're 13-9. That's not a bad place to be. But the team's negative underlying point differential suggests that the Kings are overperforming the talent. Last year's historically great offense has fallen to merely pretty good, mediocre even, and the culprit is easy to identify. The team won't or can't get to the rack. Last year, a third of the Kings' shots occurred at the rim, an average amount. That number actually impressed me, given the Kings' relative lack of a dynamic off-the-dribble creators and the fact that Golden State's similar offensive system is consistently last in the league in rack attacks. This year, though, that number is down 6 percentage points to 27.9%, third worst in the league. And this isn't a matter of De'Aaron Fox missing a handful of games, because the starting lineup of Fox, Kevin Huerter, Keegan Murray, Harrison Barnes, and Sabonis has a nearly identical share of shots at the rim. There's a trickle-down effect, too. Because they're not getting to the basket, they're averaging nearly 3 fewer made free throws per 100 possessions, too. And although they're shooting more threes, which is good, they're also shooting more often from the dreaded Bermuda Triangle, which is the floater zone, where field goal percentages are lost forever. So what's causing the compass to break? Systemic changes by both the offense and opposing defenses have forced the good ship Sacramento slightly off course. With the ball, the Kings are hunting triples with a new ferocity. Per cleaning the glass, which strips out garbage time, more than 42% of their shots are from downtown this season, third most in the league and up from last year's 38%. It's not quite as large a jump as their decline in rim attacks, but it's a good chunk of it. One more proof, every single rotation player for the Kings is shooting less often at the rim this season. Harrison Barnes has transferred 12% of his shots from the rim to the three-point line and then some more, which is the most dramatic swing, but all of these guys are looking for triples first, triples seconds, and passes to a teammate behind the arc third. The change is most superficially noticeable with De'Aaron Fox. Fox is taking 4 more shots per game than last season, and 3 of those are from deep. And hey, he's having an incredible season overall. He's averaging 30 points a game and shooting 38% from beyond the arc on more than 8 attempts per game, which is huge volume. He's simultaneously been more aggressive looking for threes and more effective at making them, a fantastic combination, and he's a legitimate down ballot MVP candidate right now. But sometimes he's leaned too far into shooting at the expense of abusing the rim. Fox has made a serious effort to put up more catch-and-shoot threes, but he's forced the issue slightly. He's significantly worse at catch and shoots at 35% than at off the dribble threes, 41%. And there are times, like in this clip, that he's clearly thinking he has to shoot it instead of attacking a scrambling defense. So you can see here that Fox gets it off the little bounce pass and puts it up, even though I feel like there's a lot of room to attack. It's not just about the threes, of course. More than a third of Fox's attempts are from floater range, while just 21% occur at the hoop. And for the first time in his career, he's below the median in rim attack frequency for point guards, despite driving 2 more times per game. Floaters, runners, quick turnarounds, those are all important counters, but I'd love for a player of Fox's quickness and skill to be more aggressive, particularly since he's become so good at drawing fouls. Nearly 8 per game is a superb figure. Like, this is D'Angelo Russell. Go around him, go through him, but don't bail him out with whatever this weird little floaty thing is. Then again, when watching more film than just this one, it's clear that the rim isn't as available this season as it was last year. Teams saw how Golden State sat off a hampered Sabonis when he was in the upper post in last year's playoffs, and they've copied that strategy. He's not making them pay quite enough. There's simply no way for the Kings to get to the rim when 2 defenders are planted in the paint like particularly obstinate trees. Look at where Rudy Gobert is in this picture in relation to Sabonis, his ostensible mark. Nowhere near him. Here's Chet Holmgren completely ignoring Sabonis on the perimeter to sit back and contest the eventual Huerter layup attempt. Spoiler, it misses. Ideally, the Kings could weaponize that disrespect on those handoffs into open threes, especially when defenders foolishly go under the screen, as we see here. That works, sometimes, but good defenses snuff out those opportunities by chasing shooters over the screen. Sabonis has been more assertive on the short roll or with his back to the basket than he has when given the freedom to attack from 16 plus feet. The deep drops he continually faces have led to an increase in tricky in-between mid-rangers. Sabonis loves the dotted circle push shot. He's good at them, and doesn't take a ton. He's still a rim-first guy, it's just not quite to the same extent it was last year. But faced with defenses sagging like a 90-year-old, Sabonis has exchanged almost exactly one at-rim attempt every game for a midi. And there's a corresponding change in where his teammates shoot from, too. So as a whole, Sacramento shoots 4% fewer shots at the rim when Sabonis is on the court than when he's off. That math doesn't work super well over a big sample. Three-pointers are valuable and important, but layups and free throws are still better. Mid-rangers, even short ones, should be a counter, not a feature. A slower pace exacerbates the rim problem. The team isn't running as often as they did last season. Synergy says that they have about 2 fewer transition possessions per game than last year, and they're a tiny bit slower to attempt a shot after made shots and defensive rebounds, despite a league that's playing slightly faster. But even minuscule differences in per possession speeds add up over the course of hundreds or thousands of possessions. The good news is that the team keeps racking up wins anyway. Don't let this rim quirk fool you. Sabonis is still a monster, and he's having arguably his best defensive and passing seasons ever. A silver lining to the deep drops he's facing, clear sightlines to the rest of the court for his laser-guided bounce passes. The team as a whole is defending better. Shout out to Keegan Murray, growing into the D part of 3-and-D. And Sacramento has become a top 4 team in both rim attempts and three-pointers allowed. Now, they're not great at actually bothering those shots. Sacramento opponents have shot incredibly well against the Kings for 4 straight years, so luck clearly can't explain it all. But hey, at least they're giving up the right ones. But offenses are making shots, and they do every year, so it's hard to expect them to start missing now. The defense is still below average overall, and given the personnel on this team, they'll never be able to bank on that side of the ball. Side note, but this is almost unbelievable. The Kings have been 25th or worse in defensive rim accuracy allowed for all 21 seasons in Cleaning the Glasses database, except for one, when they were 19th in 2017-2018. This isn't just matador defense. This is rolling out the red carpet to opponents, putting up the velvet ropes, and gently escorting ball handlers down the lane, letting them stop for the paparazzi along the way. Now, some of the problem might stem from a very tough early schedule. They are 0-7 against Houston, the Los Angeles Clippers, and New Orleans, and have 5 games left against those teams. But they've notched more impressive wins, including OKC, the Los Angeles Lakers twice, Minnesota, Dallas, Cleveland, Brooklyn, Phoenix, and a Jamal Murray-less Denver. So the weaker Eastern Conference has barely seen what Sacramento can do, and 6 upcoming games against the Pistons, Spurs, and Wizards should be tasty treats as long as the Kings don't mess around. But like cheap champagne, jacking up a bunch of threes can be a fun night that leads to a nasty hangover when you wake up and realize you shot 9 from 40 from deep, let the Gandalfs win, and left your wallet in the Uber. The Kings have a solid record at this point, but this is a team with expectations, not just hopes. For them to make it to the second round and beyond, they'll need to level up their already good offense. The pathway to improvement is clear. Making more of their threes, Murray's the main culprit here, but Kevin Huerter's 37% would be the second lowest of his career, so making more of their threes would be nice. But they should focus on shifting some of their shots to the rim. Force the issue. Get aggressive, particularly when Sabonis isn't in. We've talked about a bunch of changes that, in a vacuum, are each small, but you add them up and you get a big shift in shot profile. Even here, at the tail end of the three-point revolution, shots at the rim remain king, and the Kings would do well to remember that. Remember to go to basketballpoetry.com to make sure you get newsletters like this one sent to your inbox twice a week and sometimes more. And hey, I'm also running a sale, so even though a lot of my content is free, if you want full access to everything, it's 25% off for the holiday season. Thank you.